Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board meeting of February 6, 2024. Welcome our police department. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief Noble, if you would lead us.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could have a moment of silence, remembering all of those who serve our country as first responders in our military, and please keep the family of Mary Lou Papa in your hearts today, a friend of Luciana's who passed, and thank you. Amen.
Thank you. Amen.
All right, we'll start with introductions. To my right,
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Acting Deputy Supervisor Ed Lachterman,
Councilman Sergio Esposito.
Councilwoman Luciana Howitt.
Councilman Patrick Murphy.
Town Attorney Adam Rodriguez.
Okay. So, you know what? I'm going to keep my remarks very short because we have a police presentation today I would like to get to. I just want to remind everyone that as of our meeting from this past Wednesday, there will be a special election in the town of Yorktown for the vacancy left by Tom Diana's passing, and that will be on April 16th. There will be early voting before that, and there will be absentee voting available. Absentee ballots are available through the Westchester County Board of Elections website. Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of quick announcements. We had a great polar plunge. I was hoping it was going to be warmer in February, and it wasn't. Pat and I went in, although Pat welched. He didn't go all the way in.
Underwater.
So it was a great event, and it was our third annual. We actually dedicated it to the memory of Supervisor Tom Diana, because he loved to do the plunge as well. We also have an interesting event coming up. It's a comedy night. It's at the Yorktown Stage. It's on February 10th, and some of the money is going to go to. It's going to go back to raising funds for the Marquee. So we call it Marquee Makeover Night. There's going to be 3 really good comedians. So take a look at it. Buy your ticket. There's still tickets available. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's on February 10th. Great to see all of you. Passing it on.
Hi, everyone. I just want to remind that the Yorktown Lions Club is still doing their fabulous cereal bowl. There's a box out front here, and there's a box at the library. I just find this to be a really, really special pickup, because finding cereal, even as someone who can afford to go into the stores and pick it up, you get this much, and it's a privilege that it gets to go to our pantry, so I really encourage you. And if anyone has children at Brookside Elementary, they're doing what's called a soup bowl, and they're collecting soups for the pantry, and I always thought that was really great too, so I encourage you to send in a soup or two with your children. Thank you.
All right, a little something on the school is having the school vote is on the 13th of February, and there's 2 props on there. I'll give you the cliff notes on that. Prop 1 is about $46 million. It's tax neutral, and it's basically the 3 elementary schools get an extra 6 rooms. The high school and middle school, a bunch of the rooms are getting just a facelift, where they're going to get new cabinetry and new floors. And their science research, music, and art will get a full gut and upgrade technology for those areas. Additionally, there'll be a multi-purpose field between the football field and the middle school, and that will be lined for multiple different events: field hockey, lacrosse, soccer, baseball. And then Prop 2 is going to be about $11 million. It basically comes out to, depending on your assessment of the house, it's about $6 to $8 a month for that. And that's going to, I think the Mahansik is the last cafeteria and kitchen that needs to be upgraded. So that's included in there. And it's a generator to do all their important infrastructure, their IT, the lights, the refrigeration. That's what that generator's for. And then there'll be another multi-purpose field between the high school and middle school where the kids can practice while the other fields are being used. Because typically they'll have to practice really early so that they're for a normal game, and then they'll be able to practice and have a game simultaneously. So, and Prop 2 cannot pass without being Prop 1 passing. So, and the vote is on February 13th. Okay, and I just want to give a little kudos out. Last night we had a water main break right here on 202, and the water department, they were there within literally 10, 15 minutes. They had it shut off in about 5 minutes. Me and Ed stopped back about 45 minutes later, and there had to be about 2 trucks out there, 6 people, and they addressed it really fast. So a little kudos to the water department.
And thank you, Patrick. And just a part of that, we did have a conversation with the water department, our new water supply superintendent, Paul Vasillo, and a lot of the breakage, because there's been questions, as our weather changes, cold to hot, hot to cold, or warm, there's a lot of movement in the ground. The pipes move, the pipes shift. They are older, and you end up with cracks in them. Actually, I think 2 of the breaks were actually just leaks that they were able to collar real quick without a loss of water. But, any infrastructure, that's part of our budgeting. We know that we're going to have these repairs, and then we do some additional work to replace. One of Tom Diana's final projects was replacing the transite line over on Broad Street. So thanks for bringing that up, Pat.
Yeah.
And next time maybe wear boots.
I wore sneakers. My feet were wet.
We have a couple of proclamations.
Yes.
Patrick?
Okay, so the first proclamation is Black History Month. Okay, whereas Black History Month was first celebrated as a Negro History Week in February 1st, 1926. Whereas it became nationally recognized the month in 1976 to pay tribute to the African Americans who struggled through the Suppression Society. Whereas the town of Yorktown recognizes and acknowledges Black History Month is, in fact, part of American history. Whereas Black History Month gives the community time to reflect on the struggles and triumphs of the African Americans throughout the national society. And whereas the African Americans have made invaluable contributions to the American cause, including protecting our liberties and democratic society. And whereas the town of Yorktown acknowledges and applauds at the many contributions of African Americans members of the society have included, but not limited to, John Sweatrock, Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall, Duke Ellington, Maya Angelou, Gunyon Bluford, and Jackie Robinson. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the town of Yorktown recognizes February as Black History Month. And before it further resolves, the town of Yorktown stands as a community of hope, generosity, acceptance to everyone regardless of religion, race, national origin, ethnicity, culture, and orientation.
So moved.
All right, and we have another proclamation on Heart Health Month.
Yes. Whereas the #1 cause of death in the United States is heart disease, including coronary heart disease, hypertension, and stroke. And whereas according to the CDC, over 800,000 individuals in the United States have a heart attack, and 1 in 5 heart attacks are silent. And whereas the main symptoms of a heart attack are chest pain or discomfort, feeling of lightheaded, discomfort in the jaw, neck, or back, shortness of breath, and discomfort in the arms and shoulders. And whereas manageable risk factors for heart disease include high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, smoking, secondhand smoke exposure, tobacco use, physical inactivity, poor nutrition, and obesity. Risk factors are out of your control, including age, gender, family health history, and race. And whereas to protect yourself from cardiovascular diseases, you should be physically active, do not smoke or use tobacco, eat a healthy diet, maintain a healthy weight, manage stress, and have your doctor regularly check your blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and conduct diabetes screenings. And whereas keeping our residents healthy and promoting awareness of important health issues, including heart disease, is an important responsibility of our community. And whereas during Heart Health Month, we raise awareness of the risks of the heart disease and stroke, remember those we have lost, and educate the public on steps they can take to save lives now. There it be it resolved, as I, on behalf of Edward A. Lackerman, Deputy Supervisor of the Town of Yorktown, along with the Town Board, do hereby recognize the month of February 2024, a Heart Health Month, and February 2nd, 2024, as National Wear Red Day to raise awareness of heart disease and encourage all citizens to participate in preventive health screenings.
Thank you, Luciana.
You're welcome.
All right. Chief Noble, take it away, please, sir. Ed.
Ed is fine. Yeah.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and to everybody watching out there. It is always a special night for our agency when we get to introduce our newest police officers, and we were supposed to celebrate a promotion as well tonight of Sergeant Michael Campion, who was promoted late last year, but unfortunately his wife and young children were not feeling well, and this truly is a special occasion. We'll have it another night when his wife and children are feeling a little better. This way they can be here to celebrate their husband and their dad's success. So right now, I'd like to call up our newest police officer, Officer Fernando Dennis. Please join me on the stage.
You may.
No, not yet.
Congratulations.
Hold on.
Fernando.
He likes connection. Yeah.
I like this guy.
Good, our first accidental discharge of the evening. Fernando grew up in Ossining, New York, where he attended Ossining High School. While in high school, Fernando was part of the men's varsity soccer team and men's varsity swimming team.
Cool.
He graduated with a Regents Diploma in June of 2018 and was part of the National Honor Society. Fernando attended and graduated from SUNY Cortland, where he obtained a Bachelor's of Science in Fitness Development. While at SUNY Cortland, he was part of the SUNY Cortland men's varsity football team. Fernando worked and is currently a volunteer with the Ossining Volunteer Ambulance Corps. He started his law enforcement career on January 3rd, 2022, as a patrolman with the Village of Ossining Police Department. He looks forward to working with the Yorktown Police Department as a patrolman and servicing the community. Fernando's first cousin, Joseph Rinaldi, is currently a patrolman for the Briarcliff Manor Police Department, and that's who inspired him to pursue a career in law enforcement. In his free time, Fernando enjoys bicycling, jiu-jitsu, and traveling with his wife. And I should add on to the biography that Fernando has successfully completed our field training officer program, did it quite easily, was involved in multiple arrests and investigations, and did quite well. I should also add that during Fernando's application, when he was interviewing with us to become a police officer, and we were doing his background check, I think one of the first days in the building, we had an arrest. We had a graffiti arrest where we had some young individuals that spoke Spanish. And Fernando speaks fluent Spanish, and he helped us out while still a member of the Ossining Police Department. So thanks a lot, Ossining Police Department, while you were still with them, for helping us out that day. He's assigned to the Patrol Division Commander and will serve under the command of Patrol Division Commander Justin Foley. And I've heard around headquarters that he's got a nickname, Smiley. That,
Yeah, I see it.
and I guess you could see why. It's better than Scowly, so we'll take it. And at this time, I'd like to ask Fernando's family, who are here tonight, to please come up and join him as he takes the oath from our town clerk, the Honorable Diana Quast. Come on up, all of you. Yeah.
Yes.
We'll wait for the pinning until he's done. Get in there. Get up and around him.
You, come-
This is Yorktown. We're a big
you,
family
can- you
here.
can keep going. Pretend you like him.
All ready? Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Fernando Dennis,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
police officer in the town of Yorktown's Police Department
police officer in the town of Yorktown's Police Department
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you.
And once Fernando's done, receiving congratulations from his family, his mom, Rosie, will pin his badge upon his chest. Uh-oh. Another round of applause for Officer Dennis, please. Here we go. Now you get to shake hands again.
Shake hands again.
And then Officer Dennis does have a few words he'd like to say to everybody in attendance.
Yes. Welcome. That's all yours.
All right. I just want to say thank you to Chief Noble and the lieutenants and all the patrolmen, obviously, for coming tonight. I'd like to thank the town board for giving me this opportunity. I want to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity. I look forward to serving the community and being with the Yorktown Police Department.
All right, so as I said, we were going to have another a promotion, but Sergeant Campion will be back here at another date and time.
Taking care
But
of him.
I do have some news that I do want to share with the community while I do have the microphone, and it's news that I shared with you, in close that you wanted me to share with the community, the town board. So on January 11th, I met with the town board and I shared with them our 2023 use of force statistics, and again, just phenomenal. Throughout the whole year, there were 2 people who suffered injuries as a result of our use of force. One of them were the prongs from a taser that was needed for an out-of-control individual to subdue that individual. And the other was a self-inflicted bloody nose from another one of the, it was again another mental health distress, emotionally disturbed person type call. And again, the nose was bleeding when the guys got there, I believe, but we listed it as a use of force just to take any of the doubt out of it. So again, we talk about de-escalation, and I say the men and women that you see behind you, and they are here en masse to celebrate, Fernando tonight, they practice non-escalation every day, and the data speaks to it. 33 instances of hands-on force without the subject of use of force being injured at all. The use of force is necessary. We're seeing, some bad actors coming into the community. But, you know what, through the training, and the man with the camera back there, Detective Mike Campion, he's our lead instructor for defensive tactics, and there are other instructors here as well. They do a fantastic job. And when you hire good people, when you hire high-character individuals, this is the police department that you get. It reflects the Yorktown community that, you know what, these guys, the men and women out there that wear the badge, they realize, some folks, it's just a bad day. They're just having a bad day, and they make poor decisions, and, we try to do what we have to do as far as paperwork is concerned, and they can have their day in court with the judge. And, for those who want to take it a step further, they're well-trained and they're well-prepared, but they really do use the least amount of physical force necessary to effect an arrest and to do their jobs. So again, I stand up here just, I couldn't be prouder to be the chief of police of these men and women who just, they lay it on the line. I say it all the time. Every shift they go out there, there's a lot of uncertainty. Well, we're not in New York City, but you saw what happened with those 2 police officers in Times Square getting attacked. That can happen anywhere, and that's that mentality right now that, you know, people run on us all the time, and these guys make excellent decisions to terminate pursuits when we don't believe they're for serious crimes, and when we have enough information that we can go get that person on a later date. But the degree of lawlessness, while everybody in here in this room, I have no doubt, good people, a lot of good people in this room, there are some bad characters out there, and the men and women of this police department just do an outstanding job keeping this community safe. And I enjoy coming to work every day working with them. So yes, you can applaud right now, because they deserve it. So again, these statistics are on our department website, and you all have copies that I gave to you that evening. But they are on our website for anybody who wants to look, and I believe we keep them for about 3 years up on the police department website, so you can go back to prior years as well. You're going to see the same thing. Just outstanding from the officers who are out there handling the calls, to the first line supervisors, their sergeants who support them, to my admin team, you know, Lieutenant Graham, Lieutenant Foley, Lieutenant Kolkman. The nice thing is, I know that these guys know that they're supported. You know what? We're there to you know, if there's something that needs to be corrected, we work through it. But for the most part, I really do think that they come to work knowing that they get a tremendous amount of support and backing, and they need it in today's in today's climate out there. So
Absolutely.
I wanted to share that with you this evening. So, and I have a few
Bob,
other.
I want to share one thing since you were just speaking about that. I walked in on a conversation today that the 2 gentlemen were having, and the one gentleman was making a comment like, "You guys have a lot of police, but you know you really don't have a lot of crime up here." I'm glad you're laughing, because it is really a direct correlation to the job that our men and women in blue do every day, and it's, you know, it's probably the #1 feature in Yorktown is that we have great law enforcement that engage with our community, and you know, it's noticed, it's recognized, and thank God you guys and girls are out there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And, you know, Supervisor, I'll call you that. In all honesty, I'm going to disagree with you on one thing. We're understaffed, actually, for DCJS services. We have 10 full-time school resource officers that are in schools. So in reality, you're supposed to have more cops on the street, but we do more with less, I guess. That's what we actually do. But we do such a fantastic job in the schools. Our SROs are just making a positive difference. They're part of the culture and the fabric of these schools, along with keeping our schools safe, that the schools keep wanting more of them. And they're paying. And you know what? Like I said, the men and women in our schools, and you got some SROs that are here in attendance. They're invaluable. They really are. But that's what sets Yorktown apart. That we're welcome into the schools, that we have fantastic relationships with our superintendents, with the principals of each school. And, you know, I can almost say, board members have told me, if the budgets ever get tight, the cops ain't coming out of the schools. And that's what they've told me. And that's the work that they do, the way they carry themselves and carry our flag in those schools. So, again.
Chief, not to embarrass him, but I work with a lot of middle schoolers, and I hear about Palladino all the time. And those middle schoolers like their pretend fights, and Palladino's got that under control. So thanks for that.
All right. No, and that's, and the teachers think he's cute too. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's.
I
you
don't know.
whatever.
I only get the students. I'm
Yeah.
only the coach for the students, but.
Okay. All right. But again, that's just a credit to the way we do our
Yeah.
business.
And by the way, it was not my observation that we have a lot of cops. I think we have a good number, and we know that we have a couple of changes coming up that
Right.
we're going to look at, because your technology is getting more, and the needs of our community still need to be addressed. And
Yeah.
you know, the accreditation that our force holds, national accreditation, that's you know, beyond compare. It's really important that we save that aspect of our quality of life.
Absolutely.
And I got to tell you, the statistics show that you guys, the whole department's first instinct, second instinct, third instinct is to de-escalate.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants a problem. You just want
Right.
to solve the problem and, fix it and move on with minimal, fuss. And the statistics are just amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations to all of you.
No, thank you very much. Thanks, and I'll say it every time. We couldn't do it without your support. There's the relationship. It's not like this in every jurisdiction. There are town boards that make things difficult for their police departments. Not this one. So I thank you very much. And that's been since I've been chief. It's just and you've been here since I've been chief. So again, it's it's nice. It's nice to be able to work that way, and everybody in the town is a direct recipient of that. So thank you. Another thing that we're working on, and the evening before, it was January 5th, Tom Diana had called me at home, and he said, Chief, he goes, have you ever heard of this Prepared 911? And I said, no, I didn't hear it. I usually hear a lot of things. I delete about 100 emails a day from salespeople, but I didn't hear about this. But, he told me all about it, how either a friend or a relative of his was out in the middle of nowhere, didn't know where they were, and the police department out there was able to send them a link to their cell phone. They opened up the link, their phone, we could see. The police department was able to see where the person was, and we're able to find them through that link. So I said, you know what? I said, that sounds pretty interesting. I said, do you know anything more about it? He goes, you know what? I'm going to get you that phone number tomorrow. And sadly, tomorrow never came. But I didn't forget. And through the work of Lieutenant Tim Kolkman and Officer Tim Mullen, who are here tonight, we followed up with Prepared 911. And they were able to secure a 30-day free trial to see if it's something that can work in this town. There is a cost associated with it. We're negotiating that cost, and I'll tell you what, Kolkman's a hell of a negotiator with anything that comes our way. So again, a 30-day free trial. I believe it started yesterday, and we're going to beta test it, and I'll report back to the board to see, if it is something that we can use. But I'll tell you a little bit about it. It was built by the company Prepared. The software enables our 911 dispatch center to live stream, receive multimedia, and receive location from mobile callers in real time. This addition to our technology suite will significantly improve our ability to effectively and efficiently respond to emergencies in the community. And participation in the video during a call is completely voluntary, and consent of the caller is required. If the caller consents, they will receive a live stream link via text from the dispatcher, enabling them to activate the live video upon a click. So that's what we're looking into. If we do run with it, it's another addition that you could add to the legacy of Supervisor Tom Diana, because he was the one who called me up, and he was very excited, about it when we did speak. So proud to say we're going to look into that and follow up on that. And we'll let you know how it goes.
Appreciate that, Bob. Thank you.
All right. But wait, there's more. I've worked with the town board and the town attorney, Adam Rodriguez, and Adam is phenomenal to work with. Really cuts through things very quickly for us. If you saw, I don't know if you saw it. It might not have been in the newspaper yet because we were working on other items. But there was a smoke shop that opened up in town right here on Commerce Street, next to the insurance Surge, right near your building there. And the
There's
dance
Starbucks.
and the Starbucks, yeah, the dance next to Starbucks.
And my friend lift eyebrows.
And yeah, okay. So one of our officers astutely recognized it as soon as it opened, and we started working on it immediately. I don't think the shop was open for more than 45 days, but they did sell marijuana to an underage subject that we had sent in there on multiple occasions, and through the work of your police department, Officers Houlihan and Detective Hannigan really worked on this diligently. Through their work and the cooperation of our building department. Our building department assisted us greatly. Our code enforcement officer worked with us. And the New York State Department of Taxation, they're the critical cog in this, in shutting down these shops or trying to hold them accountable, because quite honestly, there's not much of a penalty in the New York State penal law for this type of thing. And there really isn't any type of financial bite. But when we get the taxation department in and they see the cigarettes, tobacco, anything that they're selling that they shouldn't really be selling without it being reported, that's where the real bite comes in. So between the taxation department and our building department, who recognized that they were operating not in compliance with their lease, we were able to shut them down and make Yorktown a cleaner and safer place. I know that there was other paraphernalia once we had that search warrant, and we checked inside the building. There was other. We'll send pictures of it out in a subsequent news article. The items that we recovered, but again, we don't want our kids in this community going into stores like this. So I'm proud to say that the board, with the help of Adam, jumped right on trying to enact a moratorium in this town for these type of shops. And I think it's sorely needed. I think, kids, even if they can't buy marijuana in these shops, they can buy hemp products, cannabinoids, and, you're not going to change. I'm a little bit of a dinosaur, but you're not going to change my belief that that's the path. That's a path to nowhere for some of these kids, and some don't even know they may have addiction issues in their family. And that leads to, God forbid they get hooked up with fentanyl or any of the opioids that are out there and accessible. So, again, I want to point out the excellent work of the Yorktown Police Department in shutting this thing down in no time flat. And we'll be checking up on the other stores in Mohegan Lake and also the other one over here on Commerce Street to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and not selling this type of things to our kids in our community and corrupting them. So, and my hope, and I'll say it, you can be a little more political if you want. I don't want this crap in our town. I don't want these stores in our town. We don't need them. Let them go someplace else. I don't want to drive past someplace that's smoke shop with the fluorescent lights all over the place, and I think it degrades and devalues the town. So you don't have to say it. I'll say it.
I'll say that any day and twice
I have
on
no
Sunday,
problem
Bob.
saying it. You don't want that stuff in your
No,
town.
we don't want that crap in our town. You're
So
absolutely
there
right.
you go. All right. So again, excellent police work by your police department. With that being said, we'll spread the word. If anybody's watching this out there on TV, there's not a big crowd in here, but again, we're lucky. We don't have a lot of violent crime here in Yorktown. We truly are lucky. That being said, if you lock your cars and you keep your valuables out of plain sight in your cars, you got a good shot not to be a victim of crime in this community. It's that's not the be-all, end-all, but you got a good shot if you do that. Recently, we had 3 cars. Actually, usually it's unlocked cars, but we had 3 cars actually broken into with the windows smashed in a parking lot, and there were pocketbooks and knapsacks left in plain view. And that's what the subjects were looking for. They were probably in and out of there in no time. We're still working on the case, trying to develop leads, but again, sometimes the best thing you could do for your community is to let them know, what's kind of happening, and that's pretty much been it as far as the as the crime goes. But again, while I have you, Detective Caprio the other night, actually twice in the month of January, he provided a citizen response to active shooter event training. He did it at Guiding Eyes for the Blind, and he did it at the Temple Beth Am the other night. Did an excellent job, and the offer stands if you want to do one here and have Tom Ciangela film it, put it out on the town government channel. We'd be happy to provide that to you. Detective Caprio does an outstanding job, providing that service to the community. And any other groups out there that, may want Detective Caprio to come to your facility, if you get enough people, we'll come. And you won't be disappointed. Aside from, being a guy who teaches us defensive tactics, he cracks us up. He's one of the funniest guys you'll ever come across. It'll be engaging training, and it'll be informative training. And to his credit, that's what both of those places actually described it as. So, again, proud to offer that service to the community. All right? And lastly, March 16th, every year in the town of Yorktown is Captain Kenneth Scroy Act of Kindness Day. And for those of you who need the reminder, sadly, January 2nd of last year, we lost our brother, to a sudden illness that he just wasn't able to beat. And we do this every year to keep his legacy, to celebrate his legacy, and to keep his memory alive. And this year, we'll be collecting for two local groups that do wonderful work in the community. Once again, will be a collection point for United for the Troops. They collect all kinds of packages to get to our men and women who serve our country overseas, items that they sorely need and may not be receiving from home. So we're proud to work with them again and to be a collection point, whether you want to drop off gift cards or go to United for the Troops website and see what type of items they need. You can bring it to the Yorktown Police Department, and we will make sure that it gets to Jimmy Rathschmidt and his crew, and they can make that donation. The second group that we're going to collect for is Support Connection, who do such a wonderful job in our community for women, fighting breast cancer. And it's local based. I know, Diana, you work with them, right?
Yeah, I'm on the board for Support Connection.
There you go. You're on the board. So again, you can help us out with that to rally the troops. And we hope to make the donations on March 15th, even though Act of Kindness Day is the 16th. So if anybody's watching out there or anybody in attendance wants to join in and make a positive difference in the community and allow us to help a couple of groups who really do wonderful, wonderful work in the community, please do it, and do it in our brother's memory. And we'd greatly appreciate it. And the 16th, while we won't be making a donation actually on the 16th, I mean, that's Act of Kindness Day. Hold the doors open. Maybe, 5-finger waves instead of 1-finger salutes if you're driving and somebody cuts you off. I mean, kindness goes in a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of different things you could do to be kind to one another. And that's a day in Yorktown that we like to remind everybody to do that in Kenny's memory. So with that, you've heard enough. I am done.
Thank you, Bob.
Questions, comments?
I'll just throw one thing out there with United for the Troops. For those who have younger kids, I'm sure quite a few of our officers do, and for people who aren't in the position to go out and buy things right now, one of the most important things United for the Troops sends overseas to our men and women fighting are actually cards to the troops. Each box gets 10 cards. And the members of the military that get these cards carry them with them. They mean so much. So if you have a kid at school and their class wants to do something, church group, senior home, whatever the case may be, please make up some cards thanking our troops. It's really, I've seen some of the videos of the men and women receiving these cards, and sometimes they mean more than the socks and the candy and the soup. Actually, most of the time they mean more. It's amazing. So, great organization, Support Connection as well. Kathy Quinn's been doing so much in our town for so long. So thank you. Great job, guys. Is that going to be a no shave month?
Yeah, of course. That's what we do, and I'm glad you brought that up. For anybody who's watching or in the crowd, and you see the officers with the beards, we're making a donation tomorrow to a local family. Mom sadly passed away, left behind 2 young children, and just in our police department alone, we had over 60 contributors, and we raised a little over $2,800 cash that we're going to give to that family tomorrow. Hopefully, they can maybe take a vacation, do something nice, or but whatever. Just trying to make a positive difference in the community, and we do it in a lot of different ways. And when you see these officers with beards, and I shaved mine tonight, but I'll be contributing. That's what we do. That's how we roll at the Yorktown Police Department.
Well, Chief, we really appreciate it. And, you had made a comment that you said that, there's not a lot of violent crime in Yorktown. That's because of the work that you do. And I got to tell you, people know of this police department. The reputation of this police department exceeds way past our Yorktown borders. And I got to tell you, the community really appreciates all the hard work you guys all do. Just keep it up. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Well, good. And thanks to Calvary Bible Church. They dropped off a lot of food on Sunday. My gosh. It's still in the fridge. We haven't finished it all, but
Don't tell me. I might be by after the meeting.
Pastor O'Brien. I mean, there had to be 20
great.
people came Sunday with just an avalanche of food. So that was very nice of them, and I wanted to give them a shout out and thank them tonight.
And on behalf of the YVAC, thanks for coming by there too. They dropped off food there as well.
Oh yeah, they didn't tell me that.
Yeah,
Oh.
I attend that church.
Oh, okay. Very nice. That's good to know. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a safe night.
Thanks, Chief.
Gotta kneel the whole time.
Bobby, thank you. Serge, you guys move the podium down. I can't carry it.
What do you want, Diane?
Just gonna basically put it down on the ground and then facing the board. And then take the,
Yeah.
and, yeah.
On the previous Tuesday.
I'm just gonna go use the bathroom.
You can push the one in front of Adam to the wall if you want. Do you wanna push that into the wall so it doesn't block Adam?
That's gonna be there.
All righty.
Are you ready, John?
So we'll have our poet laureate come up.
All right.
Gonna be on Channel 12 tonight.
It's a short one. January is over. January is over, thank God. The worst in my memory, my town supervisor died 3 days after the first meeting of the year. The snow made it difficult to walk Follow the Wonder Dog. It's been cold as a witch's whatever, and that's just the beginning. 3 weeks ago, my wife, the fair Barbara, was attacked by an iron bed railing on my son's bed, tearing away a sizable part of the skin on her left leg. After 3 sessions with the nurse practitioner, she is now in the hands of a wound center at a local hospital. My poetry is normally considered funny and quirky. Now it's dark and morose. Come on, February, save me.
Thank you, John. Okay, we'll open up the
All
floor
right,
for
Ed, you,
public comment.
no, not yet? Public comment. All right.
So we'll open up the floor for public comment. Please remember, you do not have to wait for courtesy of the floor to contact the town board, any of the members. All of our emails and phone numbers are on the town board website, as well as our town attorney and every department in the town of Yorktown. Open for courtesy of the floor.
Tom told me to lower this. Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Susan Siegel. I have 2 quick questions and then some comments on your resolution rejecting landmarking for parts of Underhill Farm. Fluoride, can you give us an update on the town's efforts to resolve the software issue for the pumps? Okay. According to the Joint Waterworks, resolving that longstanding problem is strictly up to the town, not the Joint Waterworks. This has been going on for way too long. On the termination of the Granite Knolls solar projects, can you explain the reason for the termination and whether you plan a new RFP? On the landmarking resolution, I'd like to point out several errors and irrelevant statements in the resolution, including incorrectly stating that the Heritage Commission wanted to landmark the entire site, including 7 outbuildings. The commission made it clear at the hearing last week that it scaled back what it was asking to landmark. The commission only asked that 1 outbuilding be considered for landmarking, and then only if the historic preservation architect determined that the building was financially feasible to rehabilitate. Or the statement that the owner objected to landmarking. The law does not require owner consent, and you, Supervisor Lachman, Deputy Supervisor Lachman, know that because you voted to eliminate that provision in the landmark law on March 7th, 2017. Also, the resolution is factually incorrect about the Section 106 Army Corps review. Last Friday, I sent board members an email dated from 2023 from the Army Corps stating that it had never reviewed the proposal. Finally, if you give your reasons for rejecting landmarking before or after you vote, I hope you won't include the specious argument that landmarking certain parts of the property will stop or delay the project. It won't, and you know that. The development and landmarking are compatible. They can coexist. Also, landmarking will not impose undue restrictions on the owner. Not true. Or that landmarking will impose unfair financial hardship for the owner. It won't. I don't have to remind you of the very significant financial windfall the owner got when your board granted overlay status to the property so that it could be developed for multifamily and commercial use instead of just 13 single-family homes. So if you do vote against landmarking tonight, please, please support your vote with reasons that make sense and have a basis in fact. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Any other comments for courtesy of the floor?
Hi, Sarah Wilson, resident of Yorktown Heights. Just wanted to thank Councilwoman Howitt for mentioning the soup bowl and the cereal bowl and that collections. I wanted to thank, the town hall members, county clerk's office, town clerk's office.
She'll take the promotion.
Deputy Supervisor Lachterman for your involvement. The people at the John C. Hart Library who've had a collection box going, and especially the Lions Club, who really sprung into action on very short notice and have really done an amazing job collecting hundreds of boxes of cereal so far. So the last day to donate here or at the library is this Friday. We're continuing to collect through Sunday, through Super Bowl Sunday at Grace Lutheran Church. And while this is a short-term, collection activity, the need is year-round. And, when I'm at the supermarket and I put my credit card in and it says, is the amount okay? I want to say sometimes, no, it's not okay. It's really expensive. And, I have income. I'm not limited the way so many people are. And so they're making these tough decisions about rent and groceries and health care and utilities and all the things that cost so much these days. So just a reminder year-round to think about our neighbors who deal with food insecurity. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sarah.
Any other comments courtesy of the floor? We have a motion to close courtesy of the floor?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just real quick, Sarah, thank you for bringing it up because I sort of forgot. And actually, Diana, I'm surprised you didn't remind me. Town Hall is closed for records maintenance on the 8th and 9th. So I'm sure if you knock on the door, someone could pick it up and we could get the cereal, but you may want to look at John C. Hart Memorial or Grace Lutheran Church for your drop-offs there. I don't think it's on there, so for the fluoride, Susan, we signed the agreement this week. We are still, we were under the impression that the system that was going to be used to fix the current system is what the Northern Westchester Joint Waterworks uses. They waffled back and forth, and at our latest conversation, they were like, oh, well, no, get your guys out there who don't want to go out there because they don't work on that system. So I will have a phone call with them again tomorrow. That was my update today from Dan. There was a fence that needed to be moved, some other minor repairs that have been done that Northern Westchester Joint Waterworks wanted done for the site. So we made sure our people took care of that. So we still have to do the letters, which I've asked our engineer to draw up. That'll go out as soon as we're ready to go because we have to notify everyone that we're going to be fluoridating the water according to the Board of Health. So it's there in place. They're just trying to work out this bug fix. So we'll hopefully get that. That will come to when we talk about HESP. And Susan, you're absolutely right. Thank you for pointing out that I did vote in favor of the law with that word taken out. But if you go back to the tape, because it is all taped, I spoke about the fact that I did not think it appropriate that a landowner is forced to do something. You can shake your head no all you want, but I'm telling you, if you go back to it, and I did have the conversation with Lynn again afterwards, and we had it just recently, and I was totally not in favor of that, but I was told that was something that would never be there, and it would still come to the town board for resolution. So, very true. I thought that it's a great law, but I don't think that it's proper to impose upon a landowner what they need to do if you are having protections there already. So, but thank you for bringing it up. Let's see. And you know, there was a conversation you had also about that landmarking does not delay a project.
Of course it does.
I will forward you, because it's all foilable anyway, 18 pages of emails regarding a handrail for safety at the Cappellini Center. I was trying to remember, because Lynn brought up the fact that there was one issue, and it was the town. And it was that they wanted to get a handrail out in front, and they had closed down an entrance to the Cappellini Center. So looking back, there's 18 pages of email over a railing, which was a safety issue. So there can be huge delays because someone feels it doesn't fit in the certificate of appropriateness, but I think that sometimes you need to look at the safety issues as well. And then, you know, it's everyone brings up that there's no extra cost, but we know that certain materials, like trying to replicate windows from the 1800s, is expensive. The wood is expensive. The things that are there have expenses, but then they always say, oh, but they're going to make money anyway. And our developers, business owners, people who have a job and work are all doing it to make money. It's not an altruistic world where everything is given away. And we just heard Ms. Wilson talk about the fact that people don't always have the choice to even get their medications, get the food, take care of their health, get their utility bills paid, pay their taxes. And it's a challenge that a lot of people are having, and I just don't think it's appropriate for everyone to spend everyone else's money. And I've always been on that line, and I don't think I will ever change from that line. So.
I just have one thing to piggyback with you, Ed. We heard it loud and clear that it went down to landmarking 8 pieces of it, of the place. It was no one. Sometimes I feel like I want to hear what you're saying, and I feel like you're just twisting our words, and it really hurts my heart sometimes because I'm like, it was very clear that what parts needed to be landmarked. I'm also aware that it's changed hands 4 times, and coming from New York City real estate, dealing with a lot of landmarking history in my life and a lot of construction with landmark, the hang-ups, the hold-ups, the requirements, the lot line windows, the salvation, the boards, it costs money. And just the way that I'm trying to fill people's pockets, I'm definitely not there trying to tell you how to spend what's in your pocket. So I think that it was a bit of a misconstrue when it was mentioned that we misunderstood the presentation. I heard the presentation loud and clear, and I just want to make that very clear. And having had landmark preservation history, and having actually have uncles who do construction who have to salvage facades to redevelop the building and then replace the facades and spend extra money for those lot and blocks. Like, no, it is an ask, and if you're on board and it's a partnership with the developer, then the intent for the project was always to maintain a landmark. But to come in and ask for it simply because this is the developer you want to ask for it after 4 other people had taken over that property and it's been renamed, I'm very curious about why there's that ask.
So I just, I'm sorry?
Adam, you might be alluding to my point.
I was going to say something, but go ahead.
Go, no, because I think your point
Well, and I
is,
don't want to interrupt Sergio, but I was just going to say that the recommendation unequivocally recommended landmarking the entire 13-plus acre property, period, end of story. fully factual statement. So the notion that that's somehow misleading or wrong is just wrong. I mean,
Thank you. And we had to address the application that was put before us.
Right.
Not any on-the-fly changes.
So, you know, I listened to everybody's presentation and everybody's arguments last week at the public hearing. I heard everybody's concerns. You know, what I didn't hear is actually how to pay for it, right? Everybody's under the assumption that if we just leave it alone, it's going to last forever, and that's not true. And we heard about how Soundview took care of the property. They really didn't. The Soundview Prep School did this property no favors because all of the buildings, all of the outbuildings have rotted away right before our very eyes. We hear about how, you know, it's serene and people want to walk. When Soundview took over in 1989, they locked the gates and nobody was allowed on that property since 1989. And honestly, the property just deteriorated. So now we have a developer that wants to preserve the main house, which was, I think, the main concern, the main theme that everybody said. But everybody wants the main house to be preserved, but no one has said how to pay for it. In that entire 4.5 public hearing that we had, not one person came up with a solution about how to pay for it. And if we just leave it alone, which was a couple of suggestions, what's going to happen to it? It's going to end up just like the 7 outbuildings. And it's a shame that those 7 outbuildings are in the condition that they're in. The other thing that nobody has taken into account is we're trying to also run a town here. And in this town, we're subjected to the same inflationary costs that everybody else is subjected to. In fact, I think it's even a little harsher on municipal governments because we have municipal laws that we have to abide by. And coming from the private sector, you know, we can't wheel and deal and negotiate and seek a better price because municipal law just doesn't allow you that affords you that ability in a lot of circumstances, in a lot of situations. We have to put things out to bid. And somebody comes back and they come up with their bid and we have to accept the bid, not accept the bid. This is not the private sector. So we're constantly trying to figure out how to do one thing, how to cover the costs as they continue to go up in this town and across the country. And this project, no one in 4.5 hours talked about the benefits, the tax benefits, and the revenue it would generate for this town so we could cover the costs moving forward. Next year, the year after that, garbage costs go up. We've heard about that. Everything goes up. Insurance has gone up. How do we pay for it? Well, in municipal government, there's one way to pay for it. You raise taxes. The other way is you increase revenue. And so this project has a lot of benefits where it's going to increase the revenue to this town. And we've shown that. So there are a lot of concerns here, but some of the concerns just have been ignored. I understand everybody's passion, but again, I'll go back to my main point. How do we pay for this house to be restored? The developer has said that he's going to put $1 million into the restoration of this house. I think it's going to cost $2 million. I think it's going to cost a lot more than $1 million. The house is beautiful. It's from the 1800s. I mean, the amount of money it's going to cost is really going to be astronomical. And so that's what goes into my decision. I've been asked to justify my decision. I'm telling you that I'm trying to weigh all the options, something that many of the people last week did not do. Thank you.
All right. So we are going to move on. I guess Patrick recused himself a little early because we were discussing this in the public comment, but we do have Patrick's recusal on file. So we have the public hearing decision. Before that, I will say there were some more emails and letters added into the file. A lot of them pro landmarking for a lot of the same reasons, which were the protection of the building. So I do want to read the letter from the letter that was submitted by our planning board. Our director of planning had a chance to speak the other day, but our planning board did not speak. So In the Yorktown News article of January 11th, 2024, written and submitted by the Yorktown Heritage Preservation Commission, YHPC, Lynn Briggs suggests that the Planning Board did not address historic features of Underhill Farms, and the landmarking was the only way to guarantee preservation of those features. Designating the Underhill Farm properties as a Yorktown landmark is essential because the Planning Board's approved site plan does not provide protection for the property's historic features, was their quote. At the January 30th, 2024 public hearing, this seemed to be the overwhelming reason for landmarking the Underhill Farms property, as expressed by Lynn Briggs in her opening presentation and several speakers. This is simply not true. Most significantly, the Planning Board's resolution for the Underhill Farms site plan includes rehabilitation of the main mansion for reuse. This building is not proposed to be demolished. The importance of the Underhill family and the mansion house to Yorktown's history was well documented during the review process, and therefore the mansion was always to be preserved as the centerpiece of any proposed development. The board's approving resolution requires the applicant submit plans for rehabilitation of the existing main mansion for review and approval of the board prior to any construction on this building. In addition, the site plan included reestablishment of site access with a pedestrian pathway from the gate at the Route 118 and Underhill Avenue intersection into the site. All the stone walls and gates surrounding the site along Route 118 and Underhill Avenue will be repaired and maintained. The only change proposed to the stone walls is to widen the site entrance on Underhill Avenue to provide adequate access for the two-way entrance drive for both cars and pedestrians entering the site. Finally, trees around the frontage of the site have been maintained where possible, and an extensive landscape plan will further enhance the mansion's renewed presence in Yorktown Heights. The importance of the Underhill family and the mansion house to Yorktown's history was well documented during the review process, and therefore the mansion was always to be preserved. That seems like the same thing that I just read above. Sorry. In addition, the resolution requires the applicant submit plans for rehabilitation of the existing main mansion for review and approval by the board prior to any construction on the building. The board intends to conduct this review with the support from the town's on-call preservation architect, and the YHPC once plans for the building are submitted to the town. Reusing the mansion as a commercial part of the development will invite the public to appreciate the interior of the house, which was never possible while under private ownership in the past. During the public hearing, comments were made that planning board approvals are made to be flexible and revisited over time. This is not true. A planning board approval is a legal document that binds both sides to the agreed upon details and limitations. The examples that were given in no way should diminish the standing of an approved site plan. There are situations where the properties stray from the approvals by adding a new dumpster outside of the approved enclosure, for examples. This is a violation of the approved site plan and enforceable by code enforcement of the town of Yorktown. Further, Town Code 195-42, Section C, added 12/21/2004 by local law number 26/2004, places this determination on the Director of Planning or Chair of the Planning Board and gives them the authority to direct issuance of a stop work order or the revocation of site plan approval for non-compliance with a Planning Board resolution. The second example was for an amended site plan that was approved by the Planning Board for the Trader Joe's. This development was approved as part of the Lowe's Shopping Center approval, which included 3 pad sites with no identified user at the time of approval. The property owners could have built the 3 pad site as shown on the approved Lowe's site plan. However, as tenants for each of the buildings were identified, each site was amended to accommodate the businesses that would occupy the parcels, and each site now has its own approved site plan that must be adhered to within the larger shopping center. The Planning Board's approval of the Underhill Farms development does allow demolition of the outbuildings behind the main house. As demonstrated by the building assessment of the 9 outbuildings, only 3 were present on the site in the 1850s when the Underhills lived on the property. 4 were built in the early 1900s and 2 have already been demolished. All of the 3 buildings that were present in the 1850s have been significantly renovated or reconstructed to suit the needs of subsequent property owners, as were the 4 buildings built in the early 1900s. It is commendable that these buildings could be repurposed by both the Beavers and the Soundview Preparatory School. However, neither of these uses provide to be prosperous enough to endure the costs maintaining old structures requires. It has been questioned why Unicorn Contracting has not fixed or replaced the broken windows in the mansion when a local window business is located just down the street. A regular window business cannot always provide the custom window sizing and parts needed to restore an historical window properly. During the presentation and subsequent discussions at the hearing, it was represented that landmarking would not result in delays of the property owner, nor increase the cost of work on the property. There is no doubt the cost of construction for a landmark building is more than the cost of construction for a typical building, simply because every part is custom. If the cost of construction is greater, the building permit fee is also greater. Then there is the cost for insurance coverage. Coverage for a landmarked property can be 3 times greater, and the coverage is usually for functional replacement cost, rather than the actual cost for proper material replacement. Therefore, the property owner would have to absorb the additional cost to comply with a certificate of appropriateness.
Yep.
Even if only on the exterior, understandably, the property owner will be looking to add some new materials to provide energy efficiency and ease of use to maintain the structure for the future. There are New York State Energy Code requirements, New York State Building Code requirements, and requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act, a federal law that must be followed. There appears to be confusion as evidenced in the public comments between local landmarking and landmarking a property on the National Register of Historic Places. There are exceptions made for a property on the Federal Register and little or none for the local landmarking. A property owner still maintains the right to submit an application for site plan approval from the town of Yorktown, and the town is required to process that application. If the planning board's site plan approval does preserve the mansion, the stone walls, the gates, and the look and feel of the mansion on the existing site, why then is a site non-preservation one of the primary reasons put forth to recommend landmarking this property? The YHPC participated in the review of the project and submitted wide-ranging commentary in over 25 comment letters and verbal testimony. The comments were similar to what was presented at your hearing to comment on density, wetlands, and trees. At no time did the YHPC recommend to the planning board that the entire site be landmarked. Their only recommendation on this topic was to request the property owner work with them to find a use for the property that would preserve the entire site. Landmarking all or part of this property will create a conflict between site plan approval by the planning board and the YHPC's process to issue a certificate of appropriateness, as it will effectively provide the Heritage Commission with an override of the planning board's approval. Further, it removes the planning board from the process at the critical time when the project, which is while the project is under our direct supervision to ensure completion in accordance with the parameters of our approving resolution. The town board should note that the Heritage Commission submitted the same arguments to the planning board during our review of the application, and those comments were tested under our SECRA review. The planning board feels this request is untimely and will serve to undermine the approval process and SECRA review. Given the information herein, the planning board believes that the town should deny the request. Signed individually by the planning board members Richard Fahn, Aaron Bach, Robert Garrigan, William LaScala, Robert Phelan, and Robert Waterhouse. So that's our planning board, the professionals who handle this process and have handled it throughout. There are definitely a lot of things that conflict in things, and I think our visions are a little skewed to however we want to look at things. We all look out a different window. We all see things differently. I'm going to read our public hearing decision, and then I just have a few words to make it quick, and, we'll discuss that. So, public hearing decision for the Underhill Farms landmark application submitted by the Yorktown Heritage Preservation Commission. Whereas the Heritage Preservation Commission, HPC, has recommended that the town board designate the plus or minus 13.8 acre property located at 370 Underhill Avenue, Yorktown Heights, New York, tax map of the town of Yorktown is section 48.06, parcel 1, lot 30, the property, as a historic landmark pursuant to chapter 198 of the town code. And whereas the property includes a vernacular farmhouse and Italianate-style main building, which comprise the main building, 7 contributing outbuildings, and certain landscape features, i.e. park-like lawns, mature trees, and vegetation, a small pond, stone walls, and an iron entry gate. And whereas on July 17th, 2023, the Planning Board passed Resolution 2313 approving site plan, special use permit, stormwater pollution prevention plan, wetland permit, and tree permit for the Underhill Farm site, plan dated July 17th, 2023, now called the site plan, which is incorporated herein by reference. And whereas prior to approving the site plan, the Planning Board referred the application to all appropriate boards and agencies, including the HPC, which issued several reports that were considered by Planning Board, including reports dated in 7/17/23, 5/26/22, 6/14/22, 6/30/22, 7/6/22, 7/8/22, 7/15/22, 7/22/22, 7/27/22, 8/12/22, 8/15/22, 8/23/22, 9/8/22, 9/15/22, 2/6/23, 2/8/23, 2/20/23, 3/24/23, 4/24/23, 4/26/23, 6/8/23, 6/19/23, 6/28/23, 7/10/23, and 7/17/23, and provided the HPC several opportunities to provide verbal input, which was also considered. And whereas prior to approving the site plan, Planning Board held a public informational hearing, several work sessions, and a public hearing to discuss the application. And whereas the site plan authorizes the owner of the property construct a mixed-use development consisting of 80 condominium units, including 48 townhouses, a 32-unit, 55-plus senior restricted condominium building, and a mixed-use building consisting of 68 apartments and 15,600 square feet of retail office space that includes 8,100 square foot of the new retail space in addition to the reuse and preservation of the existing main building. Whereas the site plan requires the property owner to, 1, share 30 parking spaces adjacent to the Beaver Ridge Apartments property to be used by those visiting a new proposed senior center, and Town Recreation Department office to be built on the Beaver Ridge property. 2, complete all traffic improvements on Underhill Avenue and at the Underhill Avenue and Route 118 Sawmill River Road intersection. 3, complete the emergency access connection to the Beaver Ridge apartment site to operational status. And 4, provide $225,000 payment in lieu of recreational space. And whereas the site plan also requires a property owner to engage in several steps to address the historic related elements of the property, including 1, submit a plan to evaluate the structural integrity of all existing accessory outbuildings. 2, submit plans for the dismantling, salvage, movement, or demolition of each accessory outbuilding to be removed, included a plan for documenting the buildings, including basic historical data collection, and the documentation of the structures as recommended by New York State Office of Parks and Recreation and Historical Preservation. 3, submit a plan for monitoring excavation by a qualified historic consultant for the identification of artifacts during the excavation phase of the construction. 4, final execution of the letter of resolution with the New York State OPRHP. 5, submit plans for the stone wall repair and restoration and detailed at entry drive and necessary modification to gates, walls, or pillars. 6, submit plans for rehabilitation of the main building for review and approval by Planning Board prior to any construction on the building. 7, provide a procedure for dispersal and/or donation of any salvageable buildings or architectural elements that includes public input on this process. And 8, create a historic exhibit that conveys the history of the Underhill Estates that will be displayed in a publicly accessible location. The design of this exhibit and location shall be submitted to the planning board for their review and approval. And whereas the HPC submitted its recommendation to landmark the property on December 5th, 2023, and whereas the owners of the property refused to consent to the designation of the property as a landmark under Chapter 198 of the Town Code, and whereas the Town Board held a duly noticed public hearing on January 30th, 2024, where the HPC's recommendation was discussed, whereas the HPC presented its rationale for declaring the property a landmark, including the main building, both exterior and interior, 7 contributing outbuildings, and certain landscape features, park-like lawns, mature trees and vegetation, small ponds, stone walls, and iron entry gate. And whereas the town's building inspector informed the board that based upon inspection, several of the outbuildings on the property were unsafe and should be condemned and demolished as soon as possible. And whereas the town's planning director provided the town board with documents detailing the New York State Historic Preservation Office actions conducting the Section 106 proceeding, which concluded there were no feasible alternatives to the proposed project, and subsequently determined that a letter of resolution be adopted and executed, which provided for mitigative measures responding to the loss of the outbuildings and other adverse impacts. Whereas the town board closed the public hearing on January 30th, 2024, but allowed an extended period for written comment. And whereas the town board received and reviewed the written comments that were received, and whereas the planning board submitted a written comment memorandum to the town board, which is incorporated herein by reference and as it was read into the record. Now therefore be it resolved, for the reasons discussed herein on the record today and at the January 30th, 2024 public hearing, the town board of the town of Yorktown hereby rejects the HPC's recommendation subject to the owner of the property executing within 7 days of the date of this resolution an agreement with the town that will require town board consent before the main building may be demolished. So, just a couple of comments on that. That last part is something that is actually in our planning board resolution. But I am negotiating with the owner of the property through our attorneys to give extra protection to the building. And to sign this agreement in 7 days, he will offer a protection for the building that will be in perpetuality, something that is not just limited to him. So the lawyers are handling that. We're also looking at some other things that I threw at them earlier, which would be to preserve some of the other aspects in the same manner. Since landmarking, if they object anyway, ends up back at the town board. So we are very, 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 very intent on the logo behind us, although I've gotten a couple of emails that people do not feel that way. Our logo is not progress. Our logo is not preservation. Our logo is progress with preservation. The comments that I heard at the public hearing and that this entire board heard were basically, we want that building protected. And honestly, I think that the word of the property owner was brought into question, even though he has followed this path for 4 years without any change of the path, saying, what do we need to do to protect and move and keep going forward? So there is the preservation and there is the progress, and they have to be married together. There were opportunities in the past, as was pointed out, that people could have gotten involved, could have tried to buy the property. I know that when Matt Slater was the supervisor and it came on the market, someone went over to look for him to say, would this be adequate for town buildings? Because we were looking for space, and that would be a great way to preserve it. Town couldn't afford it. We could not look at it because the costs just in the main building would be that astronomical. Our tax base could not do it. So there are a lot of mitigating factors, and there are a lot of things that really were addressed well by both sides. So,
And I encourage people, if you find a house that you want to preserve, to go out and invest in it and preserve it. I totally encourage that.
Yep.
But to throw that your standstill preservation based on a house where I actually was able to ask questions, and those that were advocating had never even been in the house, which was even more shocking to me, right? Is to decide that someone else's dime should do it, who's been holding it for 4 months based on one shingle that's fallen off, and actually has boarded it so that it won't get damaged in, because if anyone knows what real wood does, if the sun beats on it or if water gets in, it'll get destroyed even more. So again, I encourage this town, if there are parts of this town that you want to preserve, both your family or you want to invest in honor of someone else's family, please go ahead and invest in it and partner with the Landmark Society to do it. But as far as being accused of not handling our beautiful sign, the ball doesn't stand still. Just like the pendulum shouldn't swing radically, it should be moved in a way that we can maintain it. And I think that all has to be in. So again, I see that people see the boards. Maybe it is to protect the wood. I see that you see the one shingle. Well, I'm sorry that we have lots of rainstorms. But to accuse the developer as neglecting the house already, and therefore us not standing for what our logo is, I mean, it's just, to me, it's like too many chiefs, like what is it, too many chefs in the kitchen? We're not cooking anything. It just didn't make any sense. So I just want to highlight that. I am all about preserving and landmarking and holding on to our heritage or the parts that you want to hold on to Yorktown, but do it on your own dime. I have a big issue when people force other people to landmark their properties after they bought it.
I will say that the last passage in this resolution speaks volumes, because last week we heard about how the building was going to get torn down and we needed to protect it, and landmarking would protect it from getting torn down. There was a little banter back and forth about how landmarking doesn't necessarily protect it. This necessarily protects it, and kudos to you, Deputy Supervisor, for grabbing the bull by the horns. And I know that this was a big factor for me. We had a discussion today, and seeing it in here and knowing that you're trying to get other protections for other areas that were mentioned in the public hearing, because we were listening. Is really speaks volumes to how we're trying to get the progress and the preservation going. So this actually requires the applicant to sign something that's going to be transferable to other people, that if the property was ever sold, that they would have to come back to whatever town board would be serving at that time and require their consent to knock that building down. And I don't know anybody that would vote to knock that building down. I know I would never do that. So I'm in full favor, and especially, with the historical exhibit, to pay tribute to our past and and the history of this town. I think a thorough job has been done, and I have no further comments.
Well, before we bring it to a vote, I just, any agreement that's made hereafter, and I know that actually probably members of our planning board are not in favor of them making any additional requirements, because they don't have to, plain and simple. But the fact that developer is looked at as a dirty word sometimes is really inappropriate. It really is. People are their word. That's how I have lived my life. You're only as good as your word. You're only as good as what you put out there. And you know what? Do you get burnt sometimes? Absolutely. But there's been no diversion of the original plan that says, well, we might not be able to do this, we might not be able to do that. In fact, they've made plans to reconstruct, to move the wall for the entrance that the planning board asked them. Not to say, well, can we just tear that down? They never said that. It's like, okay, we'll move it. We'll invest in widening that to make it accessible. So, you know, I just really wish that we didn't automatically in our lives turn and look at a developer, or we've had the question of our professionals challenged, where people say, oh, well, you know, they're on someone's payroll, so they're making money. You know, I don't know what it costs to go to school to become a PhD and an engineer nowadays, but I don't think anyone throws away that much time and that much money on a one-hit wonder to say, oh, I might make a couple of extra grand out of a project. I don't know, just the way I look at life, the way I look at things, and I really wish, because we've had many people challenged, and I felt unfairly, for doing their job. And this is you know, an example of where you have that developer willing to go above and beyond, which to me is very, very commendable. So we will we'll take this to a vote at this point. Let me just go back. So do I have a motion to accept or to deny the public hearing decision for the Underhill Farm landmark application?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, motion is moved to deny the application, but I will not quite put it as Luciano put it. I encourage that when we see things of historic value, bring them up. You know, we've had that with the Bernstein home that was donated to the town. Unfortunately, it sat. We had the Heritage Commission, actually I don't think they were the Heritage Commission at that time, fight to save the Zeno barn, which is still sitting up.
In pieces.
Yeah, but, you know,
Rotting away.
But you know what? There was a lot of work done to save it. There was a problem with the person who took it down, and hopefully we can one day get that preserved and put back
But
up.
Ed, I just feel that if the intent is to salvage a property and landmark it, then prior to the owner buying it, they should be aware that that is this town's intent.
I don't disagree with you, because
don't think you
especially
do
when
it 4 years
something,
later.
well, even when something has been on the market and been around for so long, there could have been a movement before it. But
Exactly.
But I will also say, you know, I've done a lot more research on this than I thought I would, and I was sent a couple of great links about buildings that actually were de-landmarked, that lost their historical preservation protections. One of them which surprised me was oh geez, I'm drawing a blank on the poet's name. Robert Frost's
Yes, and it was
farm in Vermont, where they changed the buildings so much, and this was what, when I was looking at the outbuildings, the use of the buildings from what they were had changed so greatly that they de-landmarked them. They said, look, they don't fit into what it was. So, you know, that was a big part of the out structures, but a lot of there were quite a few. There were at least 3 really memorable ones that I had on there that addressed situations that were similar to this. So, you know, just important to do the research, but important to and by the way, 2 of those sites were demolished because the government took away its protections. One was actually in Yonkers, near where I grew up. So there were some of these buildings that unfortunately get past a point, and that, you know, that at least now will be up to a town board to make decisions in the future. But
There's a Frank Jerry house in Pleasantville that they call it like a historical architect's beautiful masterpiece, and they don't landmark it so that you can afford to preserve it. That you can preserve, because it's all made out of glass. 80% of the house is made out of glass. So if you know what it's like to be living with bounding glass and what that looks like in between, having double pane, triple pane glasses, that's how they did it. So sometimes they avoid the landmark process so that they can actually maintain the structure.
All right. Is Patrick out there? Yeah, thank you.
Jerry, you might know the house. I said, you might know the house, since you're in real estate.
So as soon as Patrick comes back to table, we'll move through with our resolutions. Yeah. I planned on. Well, actually, these are just going to be some personnel issues first, sorry.
Welcome back.
Hey, Patrick.
Thank you.
All right, so for personnel, from the assessor's office, accept the retirement letter received from Kim Penner for the assessor's office. Accept the retirement letter received from Margaret Grocia from the John C. Hart Memorial Library. From Refuse and Recycling, accept the retirement letter received by Jeffrey Rosenstock from the Refuse and Recycling Department. And authorize an increase in hours for part-time intermediate clerk Anna Marie Mandara. Can I have a motion on those?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so now we're going to flip over to our attorney for some discussion items. And I know that the chief spoke about one of these briefly.
Yeah, I mean, we can go in that order. There's the proposed moratorium for smoke and vape shops in town that would prohibit, for the period of moratorium, which would expire at the end of September, basically the building department, the planning department, et cetera, from considering or approving any permits to authorize any new smoke or vape shops in town while the moratorium is in effect. Do you want to take them one by one, or do you want me to just go through them all?
No, let's take them one by one, because, this I'd like to try to just get distributed for comment from our department heads, the appropriate department heads. So I think that's important, especially from our police department. I know that Bob had some input on this already.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I think it's ready to be referred out.
All right, let's get it referred, if you don't mind. Thank you. Next one.
The second,
I'll vote on them all together, but.
the second moratorium is for, deals with large-scale solar energy systems under our solar law, which are defined as over 25 kilowatts. It's similar in the sense that it would basically pause during the period of moratorium, which is also through September, the end of September, the town from considering or approving any permits, any applications to construct, a large-scale solar energy system.
Okay, and this is to look at the law as it was written and see if any changes are recommended based on some of the solar farms that have come up.
Yeah, and the comments that we've heard from the public.
Yep. Okay, and I'd like to also get that put out as well.
The third local law is a law that would amend our code. Well, so take a step back. This is a senior tax exemption. The state amended RPTL 467 in a way that affected or gave local municipalities the option of affecting how incomes were calculated. So you had to either opt in or opt out of certain things, and the local law as drafted in conjunction with the assessor would again affect the income definition. So it would count IRA distributions, it would count Social Security income, and it would not allow for deductions for medical or drug expenses.
Okay. All right, if we could refer that out too, that would be great.
The last one is the amendments to the ethics code. That presentation by the ethics board recommending certain recommendations. We also had some recommendations that were made by my partner Bill Harrington when he served as special counsel to the board on that issue. And so this proposed local law takes the ethics board's recommendations, Bill Harrington's recommendations, and sort of melds them into this proposed local law. I know there were some issues that came up earlier, so, I know, Sergio, if you want to.
Yeah, so I just, before we get it referred out, I'd just like to add some verbiage that confines the Ethics Committee to the four corners of the complaint itself. Staying within the scope of the actual complaint. So just to make sure that we don't morph into some kind of a witch hunt or anything like that. So and I think that's part of how the code was read already, and with my time on the ethics board, I just want to get it formally introduced into the actual law.
So, as I understand, we're going to shelve that one. I'm going to make some edits to it, and we'll be back maybe next week on that.
Can
Or
we just
Can we,
We can refer it out,
For
and then as soon as you
the
get
changes.
amendments done, let us know, and that's when we'll refer it out.
Okay,
We
that's
can
fine. Yeah, that's fine.
authorize
We
it.
get past the
so
resolution.
we could
now.
authorize it tonight?
Yeah, I can make the
Perfect.
changes tomorrow.
Yeah.
so before we go anywhere further, did anyone have any other comments on any of the ones that have come through? They were all
No.
basically, I know we read them, referral stage at this point. And, yeah, Sergio, I think that's an excellent point. Unfortunately, you know, if someone doesn't like someone that an ethics complaint is brought before and they're on the ethics board, they can turn it into whatever they want if that law isn't strictly defined, and it's not really an appropriate way to manage things.
Right.
All right.
All right.
So if we could refer that out.
Take a motion in a second.
Yep. So do I have a motion to refer these four local laws out?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. If you don't answer, it's a yes.
Not technically.
She disagrees with you.
All right, so then we'll jump into our resolutions here. From the Albert A. Capolini Community and Cultural Center, waive the fees for use of the Nutrition Center for the Street Beats Dance Studio Dance Against Cancer fundraiser for charity Friends of Karen in the amount of $725.50. Waive the fee for use of the Nutrition Center for Chabad of Yorktown in the amount of $570 for their Purim celebrations. From the Central Garage, authorize obsolete vehicles to be either scrapped at Brookfield Resource Management or sold at auction by Absolute Auction and Realty Incorporated. From the town attorney, authorize the deputy town supervisor to execute an acknowledgement terminating the lease agreement with HESP Solar LLC. And I know a question was asked on that. HESP has missed all of their timelines. They've been having trouble getting that project going, and they finally came back and said, "Hey, we would like to walk away from this." That was at Granite Knolls. That was the solar canopies at Granite Knolls. You know, the town will not gain that income, but I think will retain some of the beauty of the park, which may have been endangered by that. So there is definitely a win-win in that as we look at the nature of Yorktown. From the town clerk, authorize the town clerk and deputy town clerk to attend the 2024 New York State Town Clerks Association Conference and Training Meeting in Albany from April 21st to 24th. Why do your tickets say to Paris, France?
I wish.
That's a good question. I thought it was Cabo.
Authorize the town clerk to renew CRP Sanitation Inc. commercial garbage license for 2024. From the town controller, authorize the controller to pay Kenneth Rundle the cash value of unused time as of his retirement date. And the total amount to pay out is $27,901.45. Then there's the transfers to make that happen. Authorize the controller to pay Cheryl Kastuk the cash value of unused time as of her retirement date. Cheryl from the assessor's office. Total amount to pay out $22,411.66, and I hope you both are enjoying your retirement. Authorize the controller to process the following budget transfer for the highway department for drainage work, and it's a $105,000 transfer. to be offset by ARPA revenue. We are authorizing the controller to process the following budget transfer for the Highway Department to purchase salt. And someone pointed out earlier, we really haven't had a lot of snow, but we did have a lot of rain and a lot of icing, and that's where that salt is used. So there'll be a $150,000 budget transfer. Dave, try not to spend it all in one storm.
Hey, just on that note, real quick, last night when the pipe broke and on 202, it was all water was gushing down there, and it was cold out last night. By the time you got down there, the highway department put a layer of salt out there so it didn't freeze up. They were very proactive. You know, it was just nice to see the town come together literally within a half hour. You know, you had the water department, the highway department, everybody's working as a team. It was nice to see. I was just give a little kudos out to, you know, both departments.
Very nice.
Yep.
Paul and Dave did a great job, and
Yep.
you know.
And we always talk
Be proud about it.
we always talk about how our PD keeps us safe, but we don't realize how much highway and our water department, our sewer department, all of our departments work at that. During the snowstorms, they're all out there plowing, so it's really a great deal. Authorize the controller to release $51,470.92 of retainage owed to Garland DBS Inc. for work completed on the YCCC roof repairs. That's hanging around a long time if it's still the Yorktown Community Cultural Center instead of the Albert A.
I think it started one.
Yeah. Authorize the employee of the Finance Department to attend the 2024 New York State Government Finance Officers Association Annual Conference and Training. And they're said goodbye. I don't know. You guys are getting let's see. From the town engineer, award the bid for grit and screenage removal from the water pollution control plant. Only one bid was received from SpectraServe, and bid price of $246,000 per ton. $246 per ton. Award a bid for various chemicals for the water pollution control plant, and the chemicals are there broken down, and then after that you have who won each bid for each chemical. So there were some that were solo bids, and they won those, so that is where they are. From the John C. Hart Memorial Library, authorize the acceptance of a CREST grant for the installation of an electronic perimeter access control system. Okay, and this is a non-matching reimbursable grant and certifies that the funds will be available for the town of Yorktown Library fund balance. Okay. From the Northern Westchester Joint Waterworks, authorize the controller to refund an overpayment to water account 204-251 in the amount of $180.12. Let's see. From the Parks and Recreation Department, award the bid for formatting, printing, and developing of the 2024 Parks and Recreation brochure. The winning bidder, including cover design and layout, was Graphic Image Inc. Award a bid for buses for summer camp programs and teen travel trips for the Parks and Recreation. The bid goes to Royal Coach as they were the only bidder. And there's a breakdown of
How they're used.
yeah,
Depending on the
actually,
trips
hold on
and-
a second. No, the Coach wasn't here.
It just shows you how
Lowest
Hudson Valley
response, yeah,
travels high.
yeah, there was another bid in that, on Royal Coach and Hudson Valley Charter, but that was different bidding.
Because there's the buses that take them.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the teens that go further away.
Yes. All right, so therefore be it resolved that upon recommendation of the Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, James J. Matarano Jr., the bid for Section 1A, B, C, and Section 3 school buses hereby awarded to Royal Coach Lines, Inc., the lowest responsible bidder for the bid in Section 2 and 3. Coach Bus is hereby awarded to Hudson Valley Charter Services, the lower responsible bidder. And from the receiver of taxes, authorized refund of duplicate tax payments for the 2023-2024 second half school tax. And I could hear Tommy over my shoulder saying, read them all in, Ed. Which we won't, but those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 refunded duplicate second half school taxes. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Yorktown. Thank
night,
you all very
Yorktown.
much.